No, but I was voted most safest driver, which I always hated that in high school. But anyway,
That's awesome.
No, I don't want that. No, safe meant like you drove the speed limit and stuff like that, which I did not, for the record.
Don't admit that.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Popcorn Bucket List. And did you just hit your elbow?
No, I have a sore elbow.
I
don't know what happened, but it hurts. It's bad.
That looked bad.
It did. It hurts.
That just killed all the momentum.
Yeah, I was doing too much yard work, I think, this weekend, and it hurts. Like grabbing this hurts. It's actually because this is, besides one ice chunk, this is empty. Because I dropped it because my elbow hurts.
We're not getting into that.
Yeah.
You came in here like your puppy had died, and you're just like, I dropped my water.
Yeah.
Like, there's no crying over spilt milk.
It was spilled.
There's no crying over spilt milk. You're sitting here depressed over spilt water. That is the most
more so
overblown.
More so spilt ice, because ice on this campus is hard to come by.
Truly a tragedy here.
Yeah.
I don't even know how he has the strength to do the episode here. Let's all hear for him. He's showing up here. Anyways, all right. Sarcasm aside, let's just get into it here. Alien franchise,
awesome.
And we're not talking about just aliens in general. We're talking about the actual franchise known as Alien.
The Alien.
How smart was it on their part to just name the first movie Alien, and now they just kind of have that term, forever.
Because it's fantastic. Anytime you hear, oh, did you see the new Alien movie coming out? Oh, like Alien, or like an Alien movie?
Yeah, like you are talking about your franchise.
Yeah. And
it kind of gets, lumped into all those Alien movies, but like you are the Alien franchise. You coined that way back in the day. And so, it's turning, the very first one's turning, or did turn 45 years old later this year. And, there's going to be a new installment here this weekend, Alien Romulus.
Yep.
And I thought we could do another timeline breakdown.
Perfect.
This is another one that's got, I would call it an interesting timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of confusing.
Depends who's directing. Depends.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. In other instances, more often than not, when we do a timeline breakdowns, because there's a new installment, it's going to be at the tail end, so it kind of helps us lead into it a little bit. This one's a little bit different. Alien Romulus is kind of taking place right in the middle. So we're going to talk a little bit leading up to it, talk about it a little bit, talk about some of the sequels after it, and then we'll talk about it again later on during the weekly preview. Like I said, it's a little bit more of a confusing timeline in the order of everything, but it's not really a confusing timeline as far as the events that take place.
Yeah.
A lot of these movies are straightforward, which I would argue is another reason why the Alien franchise is very popular. It's it's simple to digest, but it's still impactful.
Okay.
Is that a good way to put it?
I liked it.
When you think of the first movie, it's like it's just survive.
Yeah.
Just get out of there. But it's a very scary sort of survival situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's part of the reason. We'll get a little bit more into that as we kind of talk about these here. But that's essentially going to be our opening spotlight this week. We're going to talk about the Alien franchise timeline. Before we really get into it, quick disclaimer. We do not plan on talking about the Alien versus Predator movies. Personally, I think they're canon. There's enough reference there, and there's references in other movies that I think they're canon. However, Ridley Scott has said they are not canon, and who might argue with Ridley Scott?
Who does Ridley Scott think he is?
The creator of the franchise.
He's the creator of a couple of the movies. Just as much as John Carpenter is the creator of Halloween. I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, I've argued against stuff with George Lucas before, and his
George
continuity.
Lucas, Star Wars. Well, then I did forget. I'll have to grant you that. Those are not canon because I don't believe the...
No. That's not what I was referring to.
The three new...
That's not what I was referring to. No. He breaks his own continuity in the prequels, but you guys love the prequels and defend them because it's all George Lucas's prequels.
Well, the prequels are great, but I was saying the latest three Star Wars, those aren't canon though, are they?
No, they are.
Like
They are.
The Skywalker ones?
Yeah, they are.
Those are canon?
Just take your medicine.
I don't think those
are.
They
canon. Are.
We'll check. We'll check. We'll get
we
back
don't need
to
to check.
Guys.
It happened. Just deal with it, all right?
I don't think so.
It happened, all right?
If those are canon, then AVP is definitely canon.
Look,
Definitely.
You and I can have that opinion, but at the end of the day, none of us are signing the checks to produce these movies, so I don't think we really have 100%. A leg to stand on in this argument here.
Yeah.
So as much as I would like to talk about the Alien versus Predator movies, we're just going to kind of skip those ones here.
Yep.
But if you're keeping score at home, they take place way before any of these movies.
Yeah.
So at the same time, it doesn't really impact the story here.
Yep.
But let's kind of break down the timeline here. The very first entry in the timeline is Prometheus. This movie came out in 2012, so about a little over 30 years after the first Alien movie, but it is set in the late 21st century, takes place between the years 2089 and 2093 is when they actually land on the planet where the movie takes place. This movie was set to establish essentially the origins of the xenomorph aliens. Mm-hmm. Some people don't know that's what the actual species of aliens is called, is xenomorphs. However, the xenomorphs actually don't really make an appearance in this first movie.
Not really, no. Facehuggers. Yeah,
the facehuggers do show up, but as far as I remember, there really wasn't any xenomorph action.
No.
Correct me if I'm wrong there.
And this is the one where this has Michael Fassbender.
Yes,
is one of my favorite scenes in all of the Alien franchise is it's a long shot of two Michael Fassbenders playing the flute together.
Okay, so you're actually getting ahead of me here.
Okay,
that's actually in the next one.
Oh, is it? Okay,
that is in the next one. But to bring up your point, Michael Fassbender, throughout a lot of these movies, there's always some sort of android companion.
Yep.
Which in some movies you don't know is an android, spoiler alert, when we talk about later on. But yes, he does play the android companion in this one here, as well as a different version of him in the next one as well, which we'll get to here. But yeah, like I said, it establishes the origin, but again, doesn't really show a lot of xenomorph action, but introduces the concept of an alien race called the Engineers. This was basically an ancient alien race that created these xenomorphs to be these sort of perfect killing machines. Mm-hmm. And if you've seen some of the past the movies later, they hold up to the hype.
They are.
They hold up to the hype for sure. It's kind of known as the return of Ridley Scott because he directed the first one, but then he wasn't really a director in a lot of the next how many. And then this was him sort of coming back, reestablishing this franchise, introducing this prequel, because there really wasn't any backstory. We knew nothing about these things.
They were just aliens. There's aliens out there. That's it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Like we talked last week, with a perfect movie title. No misleading thing here.
Yep.
Movie's called Alien. There's an alien in it.
Alien.
And that's all we knew about them for the longest time. They were just these aliens. So here he finally wanted to establish sort of a backstory and actually set up some sort of mythology here. Mm-hmm. There really wasn't a lot in those previous movies. But yeah, like I said, the next one then in the timeline, which came out next, was Alien Covenant.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
yes.
Yep, you're right.
So this one took place 11 years after the events of Prometheus. So now we're in year 2104. This one has yet another space expedition. I will say one knock I have on this franchise is pretty much every single setup is just about always the same, beat for beat. They're out in space. They're on a ship. They either have to go to a planet or study it on the ship, and thus alien hijinks ensues.
Yes.
I call it hijinks because I'm sure the aliens were having a blast.
Oh, they had a great time. They had a great time
doing all their stuff. But yeah, basically they take a detour because this one is more of a colonizing mission. Mm-hmm. I will give them this, at least in each and every one, almost all of them have a different mission or something like that. This one is a colonization mission. They decide to take a detour because they hear this distress beacon. They don't know it, but we as the audience know it. This was the ship from the Prometheus movie. And now you can kind of talk about, there was that one dual Michael Fassbender. I don't know where I got Fender from. Dual Michael Fassbender scene here. I mean, Michael Fassbender's great.
He's fantastic.
Let's copy and paste him into a scene. That makes it twice as great.
And I just remember the way they talked about it, how the camera was all set up on a robot, and it did it over and over, and they just overlaid them together so they could match, and it's him actually like playing the flute with him. It's wild.
You really can't describe it because it sounds kind of creepy and or weird, but I do remember just kind of being enthralled when I first saw that in the theater.
Yeah, and it was like, how did they do this?
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of a combination of how did they do this? What is going on? Mm-hmm. Does this mean anything? I don't care if it means anything because it looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
Michael Fassbender nails it. And so he plays essentially two versions of a same type of android in this one here. But yeah, and that's also kind of interesting because the other interesting thing about the Alien franchise is there's so many new actors throughout it. There's just not a lot of returning characters, mainly because of how deadly the alien is. So it was kind of a little bit of a plot twist just to first see Michael Fassbender in Alien Covenant, even though we had seen Prometheus, and then find out, oh, it's a separate one. So that was kind of its own weird plot twist as well, I feel like.
No, it was definitely like that's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of establishes, it builds off of the mythology that was set up in Prometheus. Here we see a lot more xenomorph action as well.
Yeah.
Multiple of them, I believe. And the other thing that was a little bit interesting in this one, I feel like, was it took place a little bit more in the daytime. A lot of times it's in these dark ships. Here we finally got to see a big xenomorph like out bright and open.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a debate here because part of what made it scary is it's this all black-skinned alien, so it
hides really well.
Yeah, it's like Batman and Batman Begins. Like he's in this all dark getup, so he can hide in the shadows. Yeah. That's what made it scarier. Did you think it was? I mean, what do you think? Do you think it was scarier, kind of out in the open, seeing it in full, or was it?
A lot of those more intense shots where it comes out of the shadows. And it's either got the mouth open or it's just like the noise, you can hear it and it slowly comes out. I find that to be more impactful, but I think for fans it was like hey, this is what it looks like. Get a good look at it. Like I liked it, but I did notice that now that you say that. I hadn't seen that movie for a while, but after you were talking about it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
It's just I remember that. Since the beginning, these franchises have always tiptoed the line between horror and action and has always kind of blended the two. Yeah. But each one always kind of had a majority. The first one was very much more scary thriller. Yeah. Second one was a little bit more action. Here, I think they kind of flipped it back towards the action one where it's like, okay, it's out in the daytime. They're fighting the monster. Let's do it in a big explosion fight scene kind of way. Yeah. So I personally, it didn't bother me as much, but I just kind of remember when that movie came out, people were like, "No, we don't want to see it out in the daylight. It's scarier in the dark and all that." And I get their position, but I just always thought that was an interesting argument. But yeah, so that was one of the more recent ones before Romulus. But then in the timeline here, we finally make it to the very first Alien movie. This is the one that started it all.
This is it.
Came back in 1979. Takes place 18 years after Alien Covenant. For the most part, a lot of these are pretty close together timeline-wise, a couple decades here and there. But, very first one, but is ultimately the third story in this franchise. Like I also said before, doesn't really do a lot of world building.
No, not at all. You're on a ship, there's an alien there, that's it.
Yeah. God, movies were easier to make back in the 70s.
They were a lot cheaper too.
Why couldn't we be back in the 70s, man? Could you imagine if all the knowledge we had and we just time traveled and just beat everyone, beat Ridley Scott, beat George Lucas, beat all these guys, beat Steven Spielberg to his game?
That would be
the millions we could have made, man.
Billions.
Yeah. If we ever disappear and like time changes, it's because we got a hold of a time machine, and that's what we did.
Yeah.
But it was considered kind of revolutionary because it was a combination of sci-fi horror movie elements while also kind of adding in a little bit of that action and everything. But what are some of your first memories watching this one for the first time? Do you remember where you were, how old you were, or whatever?
I don't necessarily remember. I know you're going to laugh at me because I always say this, but I definitely wasn't super old.
Yeah, we just assumed that.
Yeah, I want to say I think I was at my dad's house, and I just faint. I remember the through the chest. I remember that, and the first time seeing the face hugger, because it kind of was like, how does that work? Like, kind of like, what?
First time we'd seen that,
yeah. I was like, huh, what?
Yeah,
It's not 10 o'clock and it's on TV. What? Yeah,
I think I remember the first time I saw this movie was the first year I was in college, and a couple people who were in the sports band with me. Yeah, I was that kind of nerd. They were doing like a late night Halloween night showing of it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't realize is they were actually going to do a marathon, but I was still like freshly from like still freshman. So I was like, oh, I should go to bed at a decent time and not stay up too late. So I watched the first one, not realizing they were going to do like a marathon of it all night long.
Yeah.
I kind of regret. I kind of wish I had stuck around for all of them. But I remember seeing for the first time, like all the way through, like late night in a dark, like I'd call it like a lecture hall theater or whatever, watching with a couple people there. So yeah, that was kind of an interesting experience for me. But wish I had stuck around on that one. I was too much of a goody two shoes.
Yeah.
Still at that point.
Nick the Goody Two Shoes.
That's what they called me.
That was your nickname?
No. But I was voted most safest driver, which I always hated that in high school. But anyways,
That's awesome.
no, I don't want that. No, safe meant like you drove the speed limit and stuff like that, which I did not, for the record.
Don't admit that. That's good.
No. This one may be the most difficult one for me here. The number 6 seed, Footloose, versus the number 11 seed, Karate Kid. Who's voting Footloose? Who's voting Karate Kid? I thought I was going to have to fight for that one.
Nope.
I thought for sure I was going to have to fight for that one. I had like a whole argument ready to go.
Sorry,
He just
Karate
crane
Kid.
kicked Footloose out of here. No more dancing. I'm going to get heat from my mom on that one. All right, so yeah, like I said, Alien, the very first movie come out, but was essentially the third in this timeline. But now we move on to the latest installment, Alien Romulus. This has been said to come out in between Alien and the sequel Aliens. This one takes place 20 years after Alien. So we're in like 2142, something like that. Because the movie hasn't come out, or we haven't seen it yet, don't really know what much else to say.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm always excited for more Aliens. Always.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But speaking of which, that moves us into the next movie here, Aliens, which came out in 1986, set 57 years after the very first Alien movie. So now we're in year 2179. This is the one that was written and directed by James Cameron. Now, I forgot to double check or fact check myself on this one here, so I'm going to say this is a rumored story.
Okay, rumored.
This is the story I heard, was when they were sort of trying to decide who was going to write and direct this movie. Mm-hmm. There was the usual suspects who I'm sure Spielberg was probably in the short list. He was in every short list in the 80s. The story I heard of how James Cameron got the job is he walked into the room. There was a big whiteboard. He wrote Aliens. He wrote it out.
Yeah.
Took a pause, took the marker, put a line through the S, made it a $sign, walked out.
That's hilarious.
That's the story I heard of how he got the job. Basically saying, we're going to direct this movie or we're going to make you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Which it did. So he was right.
That's really funny.
I almost don't want to fact check that because that's just something I've always held on to for years.
Yeah.
He didn't even say like a word.
Yeah.
Didn't do it and just wrote Aliens, or maybe even Aliens was already written on the board or something like that. But I know he took the S, put a line through it, and made it a $sign.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's
like,
really funny.
There you go. And then he got the job.
I should try that next time I get interviewed for some directing gig.
When's that? How often do you get interviewed for a directing gig?
Just next time.
You just got it ready.
You got it ready for next time.
Be prepared for every situation.
That's
I
right.
like it.
That's right.
Yeah, so we talked about how this franchise does not have a lot of returning characters. However, Ripley is a big one here, played by Sigourney Weaver. Big action star.
She was fantastic It was so good.
Yep. Which one do you like better, this one or the first one?
I like the first one better.
You like the first one better?
Yep.
See, and I'm more of I'm not as big on scary movies as you are, so I kind of lean towards this one.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is a debate between those two.
Yeah. And it's like you said, like they're similar but different enough to be more the scary side versus more the action side. But she does a phenomenal job in both of them. Both of them.
Yep, for sure. All right, so then that moves us on to Alien 3, coming out in 1992. This one, instead of doing a time jump, actually does take place directly after Aliens. Mm-hmm. So all the events go down, and then Ripley back at it again.
Back at it.
Going up against these stinking xenomorphs once again. However, this is kind of, I would say, the first bad one. Because it was the third one to actually come out here. However, we have a classic case of nobody had a script figured out, a lot of production roadblocks, budgetary concerns, all that sort of stuff here. This movie was kind of doomed to fail.
Yep. And once that third movie, you really have to have a good plan. Like, they always talk about, like, if you're planning on making a trilogy, have the whole trilogy done before you do the first one. Because if you do the first two and it's like, oh, we got to figure out how to end this thing, it never works out.
Because you watch that first one and you don't get trilogy vibes.
No.
Especially considering how a lot of the characters get killed off.
Yeah.
And then you watch that second one, but it wasn't like there was anything really in that first one that was, like, pushing that idea of, okay, we're going to end up back here again or something like that. But the other kind of interesting thing about this was sort of the directorial debut of David Fincher. And correct me if I'm wrong, at this point in time, really only known for directing music videos.
Yeah, he hadn't really done much before this.
Yeah, and then he's essentially thrown to the lions. But it was kind of one of those things of, like, I think, again, another rumor I kind of heard was like, look, we just need someone to direct this. This is going to be a crapshoot. Hopefully you can come out stronger from this and get some better opportunities, which he would. Yeah. Yes, and he would learn some lessons too, for sure. So, as tough as an experience as I'm sure that was for him, I think he figured it out.
Yeah.
He figured it out.
He did all right.
He did all right. But then that moves us on to Alien Resurrection, officially the final installment of this franchise, timeline-wise, chronologically.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember this one.
Yeah, I had to look this one up a little bit too. So this one came out in 1997. It has the biggest time jump out of the entire franchise, 200 years later.
Yeah.
So now we're in the year 2379. Sigourney Weaver comes back to this one again.
Nice.
You may be wondering, how does someone like Ripley show up in a movie 200 years later? Cloning. The thing that essentially the Spider-Man franchise used in, like, every other issue during, like, the 80s and 90s. So, yeah, it's this one. This is really where we kind of went off the deep end on the Alien franchise. Like I said, there was, like, genetic mutation, cloning experiments. Ripley now still has, like, DNA of the alien within her.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm spoiling it. I don't care. This is my telltale sign when you know a movie is bad, is when I'm willing to just spoil it outright.
Yeah.
I'm saving you guys
the torment.
You don't have to watch this one.
The time.
Yeah, you don't have to waste your time on this one. I don't know. You said you had trouble kind of even remembering this one.
I was kind of like, I don't. Yeah.
I feel like whenever a franchise has the name Resurrection in its name, it's their attempt to resurrect the franchise, and it almost never works.
Yeah. And didn't they have, like, I know we're not including Alien vs. Predator, but didn't they have two? One was Alien vs. Predator, and then Alien vs. Predator Resurrection.
It was some R word.
Yeah, because it was AVPR.
Yeah.
And I just remember.
Which sounds like the worst radio station handle ever.
Or the best.
Or maybe the best. What do I know? But yeah, that is, at the time, that was the final installment. Unfortunately, the franchise was not resurrected. It was DOA.
It was done. See ya.
Until 2012 when Prometheus and all that came out. But as of right now, that is the latest in the franchise as far as installments go, making it, including Alien Romulus's installment, 7 movies. So it's interesting because it's a franchise that's gone on for a long time, but it doesn't have as many installments as some of the other ones we talk about here and everything.
Yeah. Fast, how many does Fast have?
Don't care. Don't care to think about.
Care.
I mean, I have the answer, but I don't. Yeah. I'm not gonna say it out loud.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, this is how you know the first 2 are so good, is because a lot of these other ones after it weren't very good, if at all. But yet we're still making Alien movies.
Yeah. They're still making money.
Yeah. I think that's such a testament to those first 2. It's the same thing for me with Jurassic Park. That first movie was so good. We're still trying to make it hasn't gotten nearly as good as the first one.
Yes.
In the 5 or so chances after.
Yeah.
But that first one is still so good that you still feel like there's a chance we could do something else with it.
Yeah, let's try to do something with this.
Yep. And yeah, so we're still making installments in this franchise. Like I said, Alien Romulus coming up here, but I guess I already asked this question. Yeah, your favorite, the first one. I could see myself saying my favorite is the first one as well.
The first one is probably my favorite, but honestly,
which one do you think is the best one?
Honestly, the scene with the Alien Covenant. I know some people don't like that, and same thing with Prometheus. I really liked those movies.
There's something about Michael Fassbender in just one scene that does something to you, because you made the same argument with the X-Men Apocalypse. Even though
you're right.
And I can't blame you. Fassbender's great.
Yeah.
But you can really just hold on to one scene and just kind of let you carry that. I am
a very emotional movie watcher.
You're a big Fassbender head.
Yes. I get into the movies. So sometimes I think movies are better than they actually are because I got into it or it hooked me. But the first one obviously hands down, but I would go Prometheus or Covenant because I know people don't like them. They don't say they're that good, but I really enjoy them.
I mean, to be fair, they were sort of a departure from the first 2.
Yeah.
So I think people were I think as a fan, when you hear Ridley Scott returning to Alien, you immediately go, oh, he made that first Alien movie. We're going to get more of that. And Prometheus is very much not like Alien.
Yes, no,
it's almost the exact opposite.
Different.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's outside. It's lit up. It's got these wide open spaces. Yep. You don't even really see the xenomorph.
No.
Yeah, so I think that might have been part of it, which I don't think is really fair. But yeah, overall, I think the franchise is a pretty good one, and I'm really excited to see what Romulus brings to the table.
I'm too.
But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves there. But that's the franchise as a whole, the timeline and everything. Let's move on to the weekly preview. Talk about some of the other movies coming out this weekend. Wednesday, August 14th. So already available by the time this video comes out. Daughters, coming straight to Netflix. This documentary was shot over 8 years' time. And it talks about the lives of these 4 young girls whose dads are all currently in prison. Each of them, I believe, are at a different age. So it kind of shows sort of the impact as you go along. Like, okay, so here's kind of how a younger kid would react to something like this. Here's like something teenager, a little bit older teenager. Anyways, you just dropped your thing again.
I dropped my water. I was going to ask, is it 4 separate families or is it the same family that had 4 daughters?
I believe it's 4 separate families.
Okay.
I believe it's 4 separate families. But yeah, it shows kind of the effect like this has on kids and
mental health and all of that stuff. Yeah.
And like I said, it's shot over 8 years' time, so it kind of shows that effect on each of them.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. The commitment, I mean, that Boyhood movie was shot over like 12 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But you got to commit to that.
Yeah, you really got to.
Even 8 years, that's a pretty big commitment for sure.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years is 2 years is tough enough to do. Yeah, times that by 4.
Yeah.
So the climax of this movie is basically this father-daughter dance that is organized inside of the prison because, well, obviously they can't go out to the actual school where the father-daughter dance is going to take place to participate. So this organization is like, hey, just because these guys made some bad mistakes in their lives doesn't mean necessarily the kids should suffer as much either. So they sort of organize this inter-prison father-daughter dance. From everything I've read, it's very heartwarming. You might want to keep the tissues close by on this one here, potentially. Very interesting story, I'd say, overall. Also coming out here this week, Thursday, August 15th, Jackpot, coming straight to Prime Video. Set in the not-too-distant future, where if you win the jackpot, you have to run for your life, because anyone with a losing ticket can kill you and win the money for themselves.
Uh-huh.
It's more or less like The Purge mixed with the movie Lottery Ticket.
Yeah.
Look, I'm quite possibly the biggest defender of Aquafina. I feel like...
Yeah, you could be that.
It's getting harder and harder, man. And also, I'll defend John Cena. I think he's a very talented person, too. But I think these both...
very talented person and a good actor are different things.
Not if your talent is acting.
What if your talent's entertaining?
Well, then, yeah. I mean, I guess that is two different things here. But anyways, my point is these both need to fire their agents.
Yes.
Because they've not been given very good roles here.
No.
This is... There's such thing as, like, sort of satire and, like, going kind of far out with it so that it's so unbelievable. But I feel like the things that, like, you know, bringing up the Hunger Games again is, like, that's a little bit way more in the distant future, and it's way, way more crazy that it's like, oh, well, we never get to that point. Or you have to make it somewhat believable.
Mm-hmm.
This one is just kind of a crazy concept for comedy's sake that isn't really... It's like, haha, murder. They're all trying to kill her. Funny.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one?
I don't know. I'm not a huge... I like John Cena. I like Aquafina. Does it look that funny to me? Looks okay. But I'm sure if I watch it, I'll find something good to say about it. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's going to be moments that
there were
good,
some action sequences that looked okay or pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, John Cena is a good fighter and everything. He's a
good entertainer.
Yeah, he's a good
entertainer.
Fighting entertainer. Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised we even saw him in this trailer. Last question. If these rules were in place in real life and I won the lottery, would you come after me and try to protect me?
If you won?
If I won.
Depends.
On
how much you're going to give me to protect you.
I figured that was going to be what you were going to say. And I think that's fair. If you're going to protect me, you should get a little something out of it, I suppose. But
I would do it for, I don't know, $2 million. How much is the lotto? How much did you win?
Well, that's just, in this movie, it's set in like 2030, so we got to assume inflation. Yeah. Lotto these days can get up to like $1 billion.
Yeah.
This is supposedly the largest lotto, so let's just say like 500 million.
Okay.
I'd give you at least $1 billion.
If you won 500
If I
billion?
won and you had to protect me, I'd give you a cool $1 bill.
$1 billion? I'd do it.
As in one bill,
because
as in like $100, that's $1 bill.
I'd protect you until I got my money. I'd do that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because then after your money, you can get your own big private security firm to watch.
Well, it's only like that 24 hour, or like until sunset in the
Okay.
movie at least.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, it's only like you only got to run for like 12 hours, give or take.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, thank you.
I'd do that for you.
For the record, I would probably take you out.
You'd probably take me out, yeah. But then people would try to get you.
That was going to be my other question is, so like once someone kills the person,
Whoever has
is that
the
like
ticket,
an automatic win?
Whoever has the ticket at the end.
Or is it like a continuous, like you got to get that person's last man standing?
It's last man standing with the ticket.
That was my question too.
Yeah. So I'd much rather stay alive and just try to protect you, because then people aren't trying to kill me.
Yeah.
They're trying to get you.
Yeah.
I can just, they're coming. Got them. You're safe. Oh, another person's coming. But if I was in your position, it'd be like, oh, no, people are coming after me. I don't want people coming after me.
Yeah.
I want them coming after you. Because then if I make a mistake, that's all right. I just got to try to get that guy now. Yeah.
Yeah, you're already there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This got really dark.
Yeah.
But I see your strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's just move on from that. But the big ticket item coming out Friday, August 16th, Alien Romulus, coming straight to theaters. As mentioned earlier, this movie takes place between Alien and the Aliens movie. A group tries to infiltrate an abandoned space station, but finds out the hard way that it's storing more than just weapons and equipment, but more of those creepy little face huggers.
Yep.
A lot of them this time. Yeah. Don't make that sound ever again, please.
I make some other sounds.
No, please don't. I'm asking nicely. Yeah, I feel like the Predator franchise got a little bit of a much needed revamp with that Prey movie that came out a couple years ago.
Yeah. Yes, they did.
I'm hoping something similar happens here.
Maybe they can have another AVP movie.
An actual one that's canon.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if the new Star Wars are canon, then those are canon. So,
anyways, yeah. So, like I said, I hope something similar happens here. Here's what worries me though: is I feel like Prey had a better chance of doing that because, yes, it was a similar story, but it was a little bit different setting, at least as far as the time and everything like that. So the weaponry was different and all that. So it had enough different stuff to sort of make it stand out. But with the Alien franchise, like I mentioned before, a lot of times it's the same song and dance.
yeah.
You're trapped on a ship. It's
Or
dark.
in space or on a planet.
And an alien comes after you.
Yeah.
And they burst out of you. Which the first time was shocking.
Was crazy.
Was never before seen, even by those actors.
Yeah.
There's that classic story where like the director like told the guy and no one else, this is what's going to happen. So all those reactions are real.
Yeah.
When that first thing burst out of the chest.
Yeah.
That being said, I do feel like because there is sort of a new director here, maybe that's the fresh blood it needs.
Good point. Yeah.
To kind of bring some new ideas and stuff like that. I don't know. I guess overall, I'm looking forward to it. Because you got some new people attached. It's not really connecting itself, as far as we know, to the franchise. So it can kind of stand on its own. I feel like there's a little less expectation. And I'm hoping it'll do good. Because, like you, I'm a big fan of this franchise.
Yeah.
But last but certainly not least, also coming out here this weekend, The Union, coming straight to Netflix. This is an action comedy that stars Mark Wahlberg as a guy who never really left his hometown, quiet lifestyle. That all gets turned on its head, however, when an old flame, Halle Berry,
Halle Berry.
Why'd you say it like that?
Halle Berry.
Is she country? Is she from the
I
south?
don't know.
Is she from the south?
I don't know.
Well, why'd you say it like that?
Halle Berry.
I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say Halle Berry's name in that accent.
I'll give you some videos after this.
Halle Berry. I dare you to. If you do, send them to me and I will edit them into this episode. Mark my words. So now we're gonna pause here. And the fact that nothing else showed up means that he was either. You
never know.
At this point, either videos popped up, in which case I'm wrong, or nothing happened and you're wrong. All right,
you let us know.
You will know in about a couple days here, folks. I lost my spot. Where was I?
Halle Berry. That's what you're talking about.
Okay, we're talking about Halle Berry. She turns back up in his life and drags him into an international spy mission. This is becoming more and more of a trope where the super spy recruits a non-spy.
Yep.
And by the end, they're just as good as the super spy.
If not better.
Which begs the question, is being a spy really that hard?
I don't think so.
If you can get that training in a weekend.
Yeah. And even in real life now, they're coming out of like, oh, this person was a spy. This person was a spy. It's like, that person was a spy?
There's a lot of spies out there.
I could be a spy.
I think we could be spies.
Maybe we're not spies. Who knows?
I'll be your guy. I'll be your guy in the chair. I don't need to be out in the field.
Perfect.
I could do that. I'll be your guy in the chair.
Perfect.
You be the spy. Yeah, now look who's gunning for you now.
You'll be my Russell Crowe.
I was thinking more Ned from Spider-Man, but yeah, I can be whoever.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, sure. Which one was he? A spy? A guy in the chair?
Or was it Gerard Butler? No, it was Russell. Who was it in the?
Which movie are you even talking about?
Were the military guys with the drone?
Oh, Land of Bad.
Land of Bad.
Yeah. I'll be your Russell Crowe.
Yeah, be my Russell.
Yeah, I'll be your Russell Crowe. Yeah. All right. That's pretty much everything coming out here this weekend. It's time for some number one recommends. This is one of those weird weeks where I saw a bunch of stuff, but none of which I can really feel like I can recommend in good conscience. So I'm going to leave it to you.
Well,
You're debating on recommending Borderlands 2, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat.
Well, why don't we just both give it a half pitch?
Yeah, we both half recommend it, which equals a full recommend
because
via PBL math.
I just knew about the games a little bit. I didn't actually play them. Action was good. It was okay. Kevin Hart was okay. Jack Black was okay. Everything was okay. But I had a good time watching it. I think if you can go with your friends and nobody else be in the theater and you can joke with it and make fun of it along the way, I think you'll really enjoy it. I told you it felt like Spy Kids with adults.
And I never thought of it that way, but I think that is an interesting comparison. Yeah, I guess my thing was I was expecting a lot worse. I ended up leaving somewhat entertained.
Yeah.
So take that as a win if you wish to. Take that as you will.
Yeah.
So yeah, half recommend from both of us, which equals one full recommend. That's just PBL math. I can't reach. I'm not gonna.
That's good enough.
Yeah, you got the gist. All right, well, that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Popcorn Bucket List. As per usual, make sure you follow us on our social media channels, so that way you can see some other movie reviews. Oh, and Mario just killed the plant. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Way to go, Mario. Yeah, we post some of our short reviews there more often than not right after we see the movie, so you get to see our fresh takes on it and everything like that. And so go ahead and check us out over there. For myself, Ryan, and Carter up in the booth, we'd like to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you at the movies.